Hello there, this is Debbie Heiser, and I am so stinking excited to share this new season 4 with you. And I can't believe that this is already the 4th season of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. And I just want to thank each of you who listen. And my hope is that the tools, the thoughts and experiences I share, as well as the work I've done to love myself, love others, and love the work I'm called to do, that also helps me lead a truly lit up life, will help you move into a more lit up life yourself. A few things to look for in this season. Super excited to share that we're going to be coming to you now every week with episodes jam-packed with information to serve you. Every other week, you'll hear from a guest who's leading a life that they love, and I'll be asking them to share their stories, how they got there, and any thoughts or advice that they can give you, our loyal listeners. We have new music too, and I'm so thrilled to introduce this song called Ride, sung and co-written by my friend, Miss Jackie Wilson. And she, along with her collaborators, Tyler Banks, David DJ Lee, and Chris Renee, are super talented and generous, as this song fits perfectly into the thought of stepping into your best life. To follow any or all of these talented folks, check out the show notes for their social handles. Thanks again for listening. Enjoy season 4 and do us a solid and leave us a rating and a comment to help us be able to share more with people across the globe. Now, let's get started with this episode.
You're the only one who really can transform your mind.
Hello there, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Lead Your Lit Up Life with Debbie Heiser. I am super excited to introduce you to my friend Linda Buckman. Linda and I met in 2018 at my business coach's retreat, or she calls them summits. And that was our first introduction. And we stayed in touch through the years on Facebook. She's an avid skier. And although this year now doing cross country, but she's a fashion and style therapist, and she's got lots of experience in this. And it's so fun to watch you, Linda, on Facebook, and the things that you're doing and this proprietary way that you help women transform their lives. And so I really wanted to get into a conversation today about how you do that. But first, before I do that, I'm going to have you introduce yourself, because you'll do much better justice to that than I would. So tell us what you do, and then let's have a conversation.
All right. That sounds great. I want to just thank you, Debbie, so much for having me on. You look fabulous. It's been wonderful to see you grow over the time that we've known each other as well. And I have been, a signature style therapist, I call myself, for about 20 years. And I actually fell into it in a way because you know how you have these dreams and then something doesn't quite work out, but then you end up doing something that's even better for you. And that's what happened to me. I went to a really good liberal arts school and wanted to go on to art school so badly, but couldn't afford it. So I thought, okay, my art is up on the shelf. And then I ended up moving from Colorado, a big skier since I was a little tot, to California. And in California, I got a job as a flight attendant, and I started exploring my artistic side. And excuse me. And so, but what happened was I had a tragedy as well. When I lived in Colorado, my brother died. And when I moved to California, I thought, this place just seems so different. There's a lot of spirituality here, and I want to explore it. So I went to someone with a picture of my brother, and he said, he has the kingly leadership of a Jupiter and the fiery courage of a Mars, just by looking at his picture. And I said, well, that's really interesting. And all the while, I was training as a professional makeup artist. I was doing lots of weddings. I did a few celebrity TV shows and was building my skills there. I got a lot of training in color analysis and line design and how to put an outfit together and all those kinds of things, and decided I was going to be a stylist. So I started after I had my own makeup company. I was marketing to salons. I had this whole system of how to analyze skin tones for the right colors, get the right color makeup on women, and also advise them on hair color. And I decided I really wanted to work one-on-one with women rather than going with a big company where I was marketing to different professional salons.
Right.
And, but this little idea introduced to about these planetary types just caught my attention. And I learned my types. And then I kept thinking, this is so cool. There's these 7 types. They're amazing. They're all different. I wonder if I can use that for my business. So I started talking to my clients about it, and I could analyze what they were. And they said, this is so great. You need to start writing it down because no one has ever heard of this before. And the reason that I really got into that is that my own industry, my style and fashion industry that I love, I felt didn't treat women very well. And there was a big elephant in the room every time I went to a client's home and stood with them as they looked in their wardrobe mirror. They didn't like how they looked. And that was the thing that most stylists are not trained in. They don't approach that. They'll just say, oh, well, you know, the whole idea was, if you wear this, it'll make you look skinnier. Or if you wear that, it'll camouflage what you don't like about your body. And I just really railed against body. Right.
Yeah, sorry,
right.
That's a key point there.
Exactly. And so I felt that with this intimate experience of being with women in their wardrobe and doing all this work with them, that I had a responsibility to do something about it. And this is kind of the warrior part of me, that I was experiencing all these beautiful things with the style world. I was going to Paris, I was going to the shows, I was bringing back these fabulous pieces for my clients, but something was missing. And it was this part of me that needs to have a mission to help transform. And I saw this big gap in women not feeling connected to their bodies, only looking in the mirror and seeing what they didn't like. So that's where this system of these ancient planetary types came in, and I started researching, and I spent about 10 years. I held women's studies. I analyzed, and I wanted to know if it was really real, if it could work in the modern world. And as it turned out, women were really relating to it very, very closely and loving it. So as a stylist, as a style therapist, big part of my job is to really help women connect with their bodies. And so the system that I have addresses the physical. Each one of these 7 types is a different shape, a different size, a different energy, a different temperament. And I could see that the way women are shaped and built is for a reason, and that it is connected directly to their gifts and what they are out there to communicate to the world. And that each one of these types had these beautiful gifts. So I started a program to teach women their types. And now I have a fully developed program to translating these types into style. And it gives women a lot more to look at and a lot more to think about how they express their energy through their clothes. That what we wear is really a sign of how we feel about ourselves. And that there needs to be, a real coming together of how you feel. Because I've dressed a lot of very beautiful women, celebrities, and the fact is that if you don't like yourself or your body, that energy comes out. Even if you're wearing a beautiful outfit that's perfectly put together, there's something missing. So it's about that resonance, finding that resonance with your body, with who you are, with your gifts, and then saying, okay, now how do I express that? So that's what I've been up to for the last 10 to 15 years.
Wow, that's fantastic. And so, Linda, excuse me, when you start working with a woman, like, what have you found, or have you found a theme? I know one of them is that people have an image of themselves, and it sounds like you take that image and help them shift it and see a different image. But I could be wrong there. That's part of what I was hearing you say. And so what are some themes that you find that women struggle with?
Yes, definitely. I would say this is a brand new lens.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like you look in the mirror, you have these old tapes in your head that you've had since you were a teenage girl. All of us have been teenage girls. all of us have felt very insecure about how we look. And those tapes are still running and running. So this is a way to get you out of, oh, I don't look skinny enough in clothes, and say, wait a minute, there's another lens here that I can see through particularly the curvy woman, which is not the popular type and hasn't been for almost a century. It's all been about being thin and later on being fit, and that's the ideal, the societal ideal. So women struggle with that automatically. They struggle with, well, I'm not the ideal, so I'm not enough. And I think that our marketing of beauty products and clothing and that whole world, it is intended to target women's vulnerability much of the time.
Yeah,
So
that's a
you
good
see
point.
a beautiful woman in beautiful makeup in a beautiful location, and they're saying to you, if you use this product, you can have that lifestyle. You can look like this.
And
And
never mind the
so,
push-ups too, right?
oh yeah. Oh God. Yeah. That goes way beyond, especially now, with all these apps on the phone, you can literally change, your face.
Well, and even Zoom, right? Like I can change it a little bit to take out a little more of the wrinkles, and I just kind of gave up on that, and I said, forget it.
Yeah. I don't do that either. Yeah. So I think there's a huge issue. It's still there. Like I said, we've all been insecure teenage girls, so we know what it feels like, to feel insecure, to feel vulnerable in a room full of people. And how do you deal with that so that you are now thinking of yourself in a very different way? So that's the lens. The lens of the planetary types offers this way to see yourself. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
And I use this example because I think that this is one of your types, but there is the type called the Jupiter woman, and she is got a projecting voice. She has broad shoulders. A lot of times the Jupiter woman is not a tiny woman. She's not supposed to be. If she was, it would be like wearing your favorite sweater that shrunk in the dryer. It just doesn't fit. The Jupiter woman steps in a room and you feel her energy from across. She's got this projection of her energy. She's a natural leader. There's so many beautiful things about her. Queen Latifah would be a great example of a Jupiter, and she lives it and she walks it, right?
Yeah,
that's
she
why I
owns
love
it.
her so much.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm not a size 2, right? I'm not white. I don't sleep with directors. I mean, this is her whole MO, and she's a leader and she needs to be in charge of her own domain. So that's what I tell Jupiter women is you need to have your own domain, your own throne to sit on. You are the goddess of majesty. You are a queen. You are a leader. And once they start to see that, then their body posture changes. They're like, oh yeah, it's okay for me to be broad, for me to have a big voice, for me to see that all I have to do is ask people to join my vision and they come on board. So there's these very special qualities and that's what we focus on, are the gifts. Now, what does that mean in terms of style? Bold color, dramatic pieces that fits with the energy of a Jupiter woman.
Yeah.
So then they start trying these things like, wow, this feels really good. Where before they would have been, scared to wear bold color or to wear a dramatic coat or a hat or, a nice chunky piece of jewelry or something, which works for the Jupiter woman. So that's how I approach initially this idea of who you are on the inside and how your body supports what you're good at and what you can do in the world. Yeah. And then there's this marriage, of it's me and my body. And my body's my best friend. We're in this together kind of thing, rather than that. I'm here from the neck up, because I hear from a lot of clients. Yeah, I feel me from here up, but not from down here. I'm disconnected from the rest of my body.
Yeah.
So, each of these types is very unique. And what we found is that one has a primary and a secondary type, and that the signature style comes from blending the two.
Okay.
So often women, we start with the foundation of whether you're yin or yang. And I have these qualities kind of listed out of what are the feminine yin qualities: physically and internally, and the masculine yang. And many times women are a bit of both.
Yeah.
So then they learn how to blend the feminine with the masculine in their outfits. And the idea is that what you wear is a real complete picture of who you are, even in the small details. And then styling becomes so much fun because there's a lot to discuss and to talk about with, you know, what you're presenting, what's your energy level like, what do you need support for in your day? And you can dress to raise your energy level. Or on the opposite, you could be very tired, you could be sick, you could be, you know, not feeling it and need to feel comforted. So clothing can do that as well. It can, you know, the softer pieces can actually relax and calm you. And so there,
it's really interesting. I want to back up to a couple of things, and then I want to also talk about this energy level piece, because one of the things that I talk about is you go where your headlamp is facing. And for those of you that don't live in a camping area, that's like a flashlight, right? That you put around your head, and you move in the direction of where the light is shining. And so what I hear you saying is that you help women shine the light on the positive attributes that they're not looking at, because they're just focusing on all the things they don't like. And boy, can we get squirreled into our head with that, right? And the fact that part of what I'm hearing you say is society also kind of affirms that negative look at yourself and the media and those types of things. And so I love that you help women do a mindset shift really into like, what is good about that? And then owning it, right? Like stepping in and then owning who they are. And when you talk about energy, it's so interesting to me to see a woman, like we have a mutual friend that I just saw down in Charleston, and to see the difference in her from before she went and saw you to who she is now, as well as a mutual friend that used to live here in Coeur d'Alene that's now in Florida. Like just to see that transformation, it's been a beautiful thing to see, because I've seen where you've helped them shift and fall in love with themselves. And that's what I hear you saying, is you help women fall in love with themselves and then accentuate their energy out into the world with whatever style is their style.
Yes.
And to your point about the comfort, right? I remember when I first met you, it's so funny. I have a picture that I show as my transformation picture. I have no idea why I wore those tights that I had, but it was so interesting to see myself then. And when I was in the quagmire of negativity and not owning my personal power, and even where I've come from and meeting you and even watching you and learning from what you put out on social media, even, and different things, it's just, I don't know. It's so interesting to me to see that transformation, and what an awesome thing that you do. I mean, you're changing people's lives.
Well, thank you. And the picture, your transformation picture, can you look at the before and you probably can know and feel what you were thinking about yourself and about your body, right?
Absolutely.
And it somehow comes through, doesn't it?
It does.
I know that I do a lot of before and after posting, and women are happy to do this for me, right? Because and what people are saying in the comments is there's a shift in her energy. Yeah. Something has changed in her. It's not just the clothes. And that makes me really happy, because I think that that's really where it comes from. Yeah. Again, you know, wearing pretty clothes and great clothes and having money to spend on a lot of nice clothes is one thing. But if it doesn't come from the inside, it doesn't do much for you.
Yeah, that's so true, Linda. And I think about too, like, I know for a while I got into a rut, right? Living in North Idaho, the dress is very different here. Like what I have on today is extremely dressy for North Idaho. And it's just a leather pencil skirt with a black denim jacket. And, you know, people are like, wow, you're really dressed up. And I remember having more flannel shirts and black leggings in my closet. Now, there's nothing against that. I still have my one really comfortable flannel shirt. And so when you talk about comfort, right, I think about like when I do just want to kind of wrap up and relax, I throw that shirt on, or I have this old big corduroy shirt that was my mom's, and you know, I'll put that on with a pair of leggings and just kind of with my Uggs inside, and I'll just get all cozy and warm. And you're right, sometimes an outfit can give you a feeling. You know, I remember working in corporate and telling people, to dress for their next position. Right. And there is something, I was actually talking to another Spirit of Wealth person. I think you might know Lindsay Gordon. And we were talking about the fact that like dressing up every day, even when you work at home, like the importance of that, because it changes how you show up in the world.
Absolutely.
And I think that's pretty phenomenal. Linda, if you had to look back, and it doesn't have to be a specific client, but when you look back and you think about knowing that you've stepped into this, and that I feel for you, it's a calling, right? Like there's an urgency for you about this. When you think about that, what fills your bucket when you work with these women?
Well, the mission oriented part of what I do is what was missing. And what's so interesting is that I discovered this through my own types. So here, I'm my own example. I am a solar woman, which is she's the goddess of light. She is creative. She's positive. She's exuberant. And I have a Mars type, which is sort of that athletic warrior. And she's the activist. So I had all of the fun, going to Paris and the creative stuff, which the solar woman in me really loved, but the Mars part was missing. And so I knew that I needed to include her in my work. And that's one of the units that we study is what's your genius work coming from the perspective of each of your types. And so my Mars woman is really happy. She feels like we're really doing something here. I want to change the paradigm of beauty.
Yeah.
I want women to say, I no longer compare myself to society's ideal. I own my beauty. I step into it. I'm going to celebrate who I am.
Yeah.
Right. And this is all possible. And then the clothes are sort of like that final piece of stepping into yourself, just like an actress would get into character. It's the same thing that you're mentioning. And even in an environment like I'm up in British Columbia, my ski house now is very casual, but it's not just about wearing casual clothes. It's about exploring that masculine side of me, that sporty side of me, and how I feel in clothes. And I'm still going to do the light and sparkly solar as well up here. Right. I don't, I do it for me. I don't do it for the environment. And that's another thing that women have been faced with, especially in the corporate world, right? Over the decades, dressing like men, trying to look more serious, not really feeling they're able to be themselves. And I work with corporate women. And so we say, no, wait a minute, even if it's, you got to wear a suit, let's wear a suit in a great color.
Right.
It brings out your skin tones, right? There are ways to do your environment so that it still feels authentic for you. And I think when you're dressing in an authentic way, it shows and people gravitate towards you.
Absolutely. It's interesting, Linda. I taped a podcast that actually will run before this one drops that talks about stepping out from behind the masks. And so I look at clothing not as a mask, but I look at it as an expression of who you are, and you step out of that. And then you own, like you're saying, it doesn't matter what you have on, but it's owning who you are. And there are certain pieces of clothing I know that I feel more authentic and more congruency with who I really am versus other things. Like the flannel shirt, I love to wear that at home, but it's not really my style. It's not who I am. To me, there's a difference between style and fashion. Do you find that to be true?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, because the fashion industry is a machine. They need to sell. It's all about selling. They come up with new trends, and it's more geared toward a younger market. So in terms of what's in fashion or what's on trend doesn't really mean a whole lot, other than, are you looking dated? Like, are you still wearing things that were worn 20 years ago that aren't in style anymore? Maybe that's something to consider. Yeah. And of course, when you go into the closet, just looking at things that are in there that you haven't worn in a year. Auditing your closet you should have a closet full of happy clothes. That's what I call them.
I have to tell you. Yeah, I have to tell you a funny story. I had this, this was probably, I don't know, probably a year after, it was probably 2019. And I was looking at pictures of when my son was a senior in high school. And I'm like, oh, that was in 2010. I still have that dress in my closet. I still have that dress in my closet. Oh, I still have that outfit. I'm like, what the hell am I doing with these clothes? Right? Like, why am I hanging on to these? Like a classic black dress is one thing, but it's like, I've worn this to so many things. Why? Right? Unless it was something I absolutely like loved. But what I found is I haven't missed it.
Right.
You know, and the other day I did go into my closet and I'm like, oh, darn, I gave that tan blazer away because I hadn't worn it in a year. And I kind of would have liked to have worn that today, but that's been the only thing. And every year I go through my closet now like clockwork and try to get rid of things that I haven't worn. Now, sometimes up here, right, it's a little different. I have to go by 2 years because I may not be traveling as much like in 2020. So, you know, some things that I would wear to a conference might be different than what I would wear to work every day. Particularly shoes.
When you get to the point where you're loving everything in your closet, there are pieces that you will have in there for 10 years because it's a gorgeous jacket that fits you well. It's a great color. It's the right fabric. Fabrications are so important for bodies too, like what the fabric does, how it drapes, how heavy is it, what's the texture. All of those things are wonderful things to explore. And that's where my training comes in,
right?
You know, my expertise and the additional idea of the planetary types has enhanced what I know so much. You know, for like a solar woman wearing light, crisp fabrics because she's the goddess of light. Yeah. So it's sort of like you want that airy feeling because her energy goes up. That's all a question of the kinds of fabrics that you wear. So it's really interesting how that, you know, has enhanced all of the training that I've had and the experience I've had in just looking at, well, what are your best fabrics?
Yeah.
Right. What are your best colors? What are your best styles? And then putting them all together. For the client that we know that you just saw, what we're doing now is I'm putting a lookbook together for her.
Oh, cool.
So she came out to San Francisco, we shopped, we spent 2 days together. She got her hair done. We went to a French lingerie store and I had her fitted for some beautiful lingerie. And now I got photos of all of those pictures. And so I'm combining outfits. So she has a book that she can literally look at and say, I'm going to wear that today. So that she's getting the most out of all of these new beautiful pieces that she has. And I think that that's something that I love to do because I'm an artist and I love to mix. And women, you would always ask me when I would go shopping with them, they'd have a beautiful piece. And the first question was, are you going to show me how to wear this? And what do I put this with? You know, that's like their first thing is. And so that's the sort of the completion of a cycle of the work that I do with a woman is to get her that lookbook so that she has all these beautiful things to choose from.
Yeah. Okay. So Linda, I have to ask, and I'm going to put you on the spot. So you were alluding to the fact that I was Jupiter. What would you say my secondary is?
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
Because I can see Jupiter physical characteristics. So the Jupiter face, you have a beautiful Jupiter face. You have these really nice broad cheeks. This is sort of the widest part of your face, a sort of a long forehead, a high crown.
Yeah.
All Jupiters have a nice crown so they can put that crown
that idea.
on or that hat, right?
Yeah.
And then they have a long jawline and a fairly strong chin and broad shoulders. You also have a beautiful, deep projecting voice, which is very Jupiterian. You teach people leadership. You're doing exactly the right thing, but we would need to delve in a little deeper to see what your secondary type is, because there's something about you that I don't quite know yet. And that's the analysis that I do in the call that we have, where you go through the types yourself. I have a little ebook where you read them all, go, oh, I really relate to that one. And then we discuss, is there a balance here of yin and yang? Yeah. Is there another type that maybe you haven't explored yet? And that maybe is calling you to step into some, another level.
Yeah.
And that's usually what happens is there's one type that's saying, you haven't used me much. I've been here since you were born. I've supported you all the way through. Now I want you to really step into those gifts. So that's the process of nuancing the combination.
Nice. And I love too, Linda, how you take people from start to finish, and it's an ongoing process and you allow for that. So Linda, if somebody was interested in working with you, where would they find you?
Yes, I have of course, my website is lindabuckman.com. So you can go on that, and there is an opt-in for a style quiz that you can take to find out whether you're more yin or yang. Okay. And then of course that puts you on my email list, and I am very active on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, but I have a group called Stellar Beauty Society. And it's a private group, but it really is, it goes into all aspects of beauty, the planetary types, and different things to support women. So I can be found there as well. I have a Linda Buckman private personal page, of course. Sure. And if someone wants to friend me, then I can invite them into Stellar Beauty Society and talk more about the big program I do. It's chunked down. Yeah. So if a woman wants to just learn her types, she can do that. If she wants to just do a virtual style program, they get these beautiful style books that I've had all printed out that are full color. And then we work with a Pinterest board and collaborate that way, so they can do the digital part, or they can do the Rolls Royce, which is me coming to you to look at your closet and go into everything with you, do your makeup, do your color analysis, take you shopping, and then do the mixing session in the lookbook. So,
well, I think all of those options sound fantastic. And so for those of you loyal listeners, check out Linda at lindabuckman.com and find her on the social media channels that she mentioned. And if you have an interest in finding out how you can help lead your life versus your business leading yours, please reach out to me. You can find me at www.leadyourlituplife.com. I'd love to speak with you. So sign up for a 30-minute consult. And with that, it's a wrap, and we'll see you next week.
Great.
Thank you so much, Linda.
Thank you. Thank you.